Nós tivemos também, Karen, mas nós
Tá
estamos
ótimo.
vendo a tela não a tela de saída do PowerPoint, mas a tela de trabalho do PowerPoint.
Tá, então de trabalho. Então, o que
É.
significa que tem que...
Talvez você tenha que selecionar a
Isso,
janela para compartilhar depois que você iniciar a apresentação.
era isso que eu queria ter certeza. Então,
Beleza.
vamos lá. Então, vamos primeiro fazer isso, e daí ir para isso. Um dia eu vou ficar que nem você, Gustavo, eu tô treinando, tentando. Aí, ó, agora deu certo?
Ótimo, estamos vendo direitinho agora.
Tá bom. E aí, quando termina, stop sharing e volto
Isso.
para cá. Tá bom. Quem quer testar? Alguém mais tem apresentação?
Estou subindo a minha aqui, ó.
Tá bom.
Me digam se já estão vendo.
Sim, perfeito.
Então tá bom.
Professor Alexandre, você também está como co-host, tá?
Ah, eu não tenho apresentação não, tá, Patrícia?
Tá, mas eu vou te deixar como co-host.
Legal.
Qualquer coisa, você tem acesso a tudo também.
Obrigado.
Gostei das nuvens.
Você
Gostei
viu?
das nuvens do seu céu.
Tá com obra aqui no andar de cima, eu vim me esconder no quarto das minhas filhas.
Eu imagino, nossa, eu vim para o RCGI, porque não dá, em casa também tem isso. Marconde, você tem apresentação também? Você quer checar como é que faz?
Oi, gente, boa tarde, tudo bom?
Boa tarde,
Nossa,
adorei! Que lindo!
Não é fake, não.
É você? Parabéns!
Das nuvens para o fundo do mar. Hoje estamos aí.
No WhatsApp dele, ele está de bike. Agora
não, a Karen está numa floresta lá no fundo. Ó. A Karen na floresta, Marcondes no fundo do mar, Alexandre nas nuvens.
Aqui
e eu na cidade, eu sou urbano.
Eu estou na plaquinha do RCGI, olha aqui, ó. Eu pus no fundo do RCGI.
Não tem apresentação, não, eu só vou falar, não vou apresentar isso.
Bom, então, gente, olha, sabe o que eu pensei? Eu vou começar dando as boas-vindas, tá? Vou me apresentar, vou dizer que o objetivo desse painel, de formação desse painel, foi para apresentar uma experiência prática desenvolvida na Triple Helix, mas que a gente não vai falar especificamente apenas do centro. O centro é uma maneira de demonstrar, de ilustrar isso que a gente, falando do Triple Helix funcionando, tá? Então, aí eu vou pedir para cada um de vocês se apresentar muito rapidamente, então falar seu nome, e aí você se apresenta com aquilo que você julgar que seja interessante, tá? Brevemente. E eu vou começar com você, Marcondes, depois o Alexandre Breda, depois o Júlio, e daí o Gustavo. Por que isso? Porque na hora da apresentação, o que eu pensei também foi a gente começar olhando o que a agência de fomento pensa, tá? Então eu vou pedir, depois que fizer essa breve apresentação de cada um, eu vou voltar e aí eu vou apresentar muito rapidamente o RCGI, tá bom? Nossa, agora vem umas coisas aqui para mim que fica um file para sincronizar, enfim, tudo aparece na hora que não devia. Então, depois que vocês fizerem a breve apresentação de quem vocês são, volta para mim e aí eu vou falar um pouco mais do objetivo desse painel e vou apresentar muito brevemente o RCGI, tá? Então, só falar qual que é o foco dele, vou apresentar ele como um Triple Helix e vou falar, então, por que eu tenho vocês 4 aqui nesse painel, tá? Apresentar muito brevemente, e daí eu vou abrir a palavra primeiro para o Roberto, então, né, pensando na agência de fomento, depois na questão da indústria, depois para o Júlio falando do centro, e daí o Gustavo falando de inovação e de difusão do conhecimento. Tá bom? Ok? E aí, depois disso, quer dizer, as falas de vocês, a gente vai abrir para perguntas. Aí eu não sei como é que a gente vê a questão das perguntas do público.
Eu posso auxiliar vocês com isso.
Tá.
A gente pede para fazer as perguntas no chat e eu consigo...
Tá bom, ok. Júlio, para variar. Ele coloca o link para mim no WhatsApp.
É,
Sim.
eu peço. A gente tem um chat aqui ao vivo também, eu controlo o chat quando a gente tiver perguntas. Vocês podem clicar na parte de baixo, também tem a opção de chat.
Tá
Se não
bom,
tiver disponível, deve ter um more aí, deve ter um chat.
tá bom.
Ou tem um atalho. Alt H também abre o chat. E eu ajudo vocês, eu faço uma pré-seleção das perguntas e eu vou direcionando se a gente tiver alguma pergunta.
Tá bom. Mas aí você vai direcionar para que eu faça a pergunta ou você vai fazer?
Você decide.
Tá. Então aí a gente vai falando aqui. Se tiver um jeito da gente se comunicar aqui, aí é melhor, porque daí a gente resolve.
Se você abrir o chat, tem a opção de to,
O chat, tá?
e aí
Everyone
tem
ou só para uma
everyone,
pessoa?
e você consegue falar só para mim.
Tá bom, então aí eu falo só para você. Ok. Alguém consegue mandar o link para o Júlio? Você consegue, Gustavo? Por gentileza, no WhatsApp? Eu não vou me atrapalhar aqui. Tá bom. Eu tenho umas perguntas para vocês e também, assim, como a questão é aqui a gente mostrar o Triple Helix funcionando, também acho legal que se vocês tiverem perguntas uns para os outros ou comentários, também acho que fica legal, tá? Depois depois que cada um fizer a sua apresentação do seu ponto de vista, acho que é válido para a gente provocar essa discussão. Tá? E a gente tem que terminar no máximo às 3, é isso?
Isso. E é tudo em inglês, tá? Só lembrando.
Yes, no problem. A gente preparou em inglês, mas eu vi que o pessoal do outro grupo estava no meio do evento em português, porque eu acho que eles ficaram com a ideia de que do SciBis, né? Porque o SciBis é em
Acho que
português.
confundiram. A gente só está pedindo para ser tudo em... Aqui tudo bem, mas apresentação em
Tá.
si, tudo em inglês. Obrigada.
Ok.
Estamos aguardando o professor Júlio, né?
Isso.
Uhum.
Já estamos online no YouTube.
Já? Que ótimo. Você que tem essa experiência, né, Gustavo? Colocar live no YouTube e tal. Bom.
Digamos que nesse último 1 ano e meio aí, nós todos aprenderam novas habilidades de alguma forma, né?
Verdade. Nós vamos começar agora, já estamos live no YouTube, tá? Tá bom? Vê se o professor Júlio conseguiu entrar ali na sala dele, por favor, tá? Obrigada.
O Júlio está aqui, está online.
Ótimo. Ótimo. Welcome, everybody, to the 19th International Triple Helix Conference 2021. This is session 3.3, and we are focusing on university, industry, government, partnership on climate change and sustainability, the experience of a Brazilian research center. Good afternoon and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our panel. The idea of forming this panel is to present the experience of innovation being developed through a triple helix structure. Well, my name is Karen Mascarenhas, and I am the Human Resources and Leadership Director of the Research Center for Gas Innovation, hosted at the University of São Paulo, funded by FAPESP, the funding agency of the state of São Paulo, and Shell. I'm also a psychologist, a PhD candidate from the Institute of Psychology of the University of São Paulo, with a previous year as a visiting researcher at the Imperial College London, researching in the areas of leadership, sustainable development goals, triple helix innovation, public perception, and the social license to operate energy technologies. I'm also an assistant professor at the Administration Post-Graduation Program at the Fundação Getúlio Vargas in São Paulo. Previously, I worked for many years in human resources in private and public companies and in consulting and in coaching. I would kindly ask my colleagues to introduce briefly themselves so that everybody gets to know who is here today. I will start inviting Roberto Marcondes to introduce himself, please.
Thanks a lot, Karen. Thanks a lot for all the organizers. It's a big pleasure to be part here of the panel. So my name is Roberto Cesar. I'm a professor at the Computer Science Department at the University of São Paulo, and I'm also coordinator of the Research Centers program and advisor to the scientific director of FAPESP, the funding agency that funds some research centers, as I'm going to explain, that are very aligned to the goals of this panel. So again, thanks a lot for this opportunity, and I'm sure we're going to have a very nice discussion today.
Thank you very much. Now I invite Alexandre Breda to do his presentation.
Everyone, thanks, Karen. Thanks for the invitation, for the introduction. And thanks for the organizer for the invitation as well. And hi, everyone. Good to see you all here. I'm Alexandre Breda, mechanical engineer as background, and working in Shell for 6 years. And I'm representing Shell in this great initiative that we have, that is the Research Center for Gas Innovation. I'm currently the CO2 abatement program lead here in Brazil. Okay, back to you, Karen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexandre. Now I will ask Professor Giulio Meneghini.
Well, good afternoon. It's really nice to see you, Marcondes, Alexandre, Gustavo, and Karen. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm a professor in the Mechanical Engineering Department at Escola Politécnica in University of São Paulo, and I'm currently the Scientific Director of the Research Center for Gas Innovation. Thank you very much, Karen. Back to you.
Thank you, Giulio. Gustavo, please, can you present yourself?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Karen, for hosting this panel and for the invitation as well. My name is Gustavo Assi. I'm an associate professor in naval architecture and ocean engineering here at Poli, our engineering school in São Paulo, also from the University of São Paulo. And my technical interests are more in hydrodynamics, ocean renewable energy, and other topics related to ocean exploration. But here in the RCGI, in the past few years, I have played two different roles. One as a director for diffusion of knowledge and communications, and more recently taking on directorship for innovation and transfer of technology. And I hope to contribute to this panel which is a challenge for me to bring these topics into the perspective of the triple helix. Let's see what will come out of that. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you very much, Gustavo. Well, I have to tell you that who is normally the host in everything we do there at the Research Center for Gas Innovation is Gustavo. So filling in to his position is not an easy task, I will tell you. But in any case, as he is an expert in innovation and also with the dissemination of knowledge, we thought it was better for him to be a panelist. So I'll do my best to fill into this position. Well, for us to begin, I would like to start just introducing the center and then very briefly, and then asking each of my companions to also introduce their perspective in working in this triple helix. So first of all, welcome. And now going into this, I would like to show you the Research Center for Gas Innovation. So sorry for that. It doesn't, sorry. It didn't work. I can't change the slide. See, I need you. Gustavo, see, let me see if I can change it now. Yeah. And nothing.
Try to play the keys left and right to see if anything moves.
No, nothing moves. I'm sorry for that. Really, when I share it, it doesn't go. It doesn't.
Did you click on the window to highlight the window before advancing?
Yes, exactly. What I'm going to do is just take it off here, and probably we'll have to go with, you know, an adapted way of.
Professor, can you send me the presentation? I can share for you. See
if like this, it's sharing now, right?
Yes, try again.
Okay. And can you see it moving up and down?
I think it's loading.
Not yet.
No? Yeah, for me now it does.
We're not in the presentation mode. We are seeing the working screen.
Okay, how do I send it to you, Patricia?
You can send via the chat box. There's a file button up in the right. You just send me the presentation and I share for you.
Okay. Share screen here button. No, there's no share button here. It's only the share screen.
In the chat.
Okay, chat box.
There's a file button.
Okay, perfect.
In the right.
Okay, background pictures, presentations. Great.
Okay.
Thank you, Patricia. There it is.
You're welcome. It's downloading, just 1 second.
I believe that Karen is not teaching using Zoom.
No.
12 months and then.
No, because what we use normally is the Google Meet. So with Google Meets it works, but with Zoom it didn't. I'm sorry for that. Okay.
Working.
Great. Okay, so welcome. Can you move to the next one, please? Okay. Here is our research center for gas innovation. So it's you are all welcome to visit us as soon as we open back again. Today I'm here at the research center. Can you change it to the next, please? The research center is structure. Can you move to the next slide, please? See, okay. So I wanted to show it in a triple helix innovation model. So mainly it is within the university, so USP, also with the funding from FAPESP, which is the funding agency of the state of São Paulo, and Shell. Okay, so together, we work together to develop this. And innovation, which is to produce the innovation. So we're focused on research, innovation, and the dissemination of knowledge, working in this triple helix. Next slide, please. Well, so here is our mission. So the center is a Center for Advanced Studies on the Mitigation of Greenhouse Gases, investigating the sustainable use of natural gas, biogas, hydrogen, and the abatement of CO2 emissions. Next slide, please. So here is a bit of the history. We started in December 2015 when the contract was signed, and with 29 projects under development. In September 2017, we introduced another 16 projects focused on the CO2 abatement. And July 2018, we inserted a geophysical computing program. And then we started partnering with other companies, not only Shell. And in December 2020, we finished this first 29 projects. And now we are just signing the renovation, the renewing of new, now they're going to be new 19 projects. Next slide, please. Well, this is a bit of the idea of the institutions we partner within the University of São Paulo. So a lot of the different faculties and institutions within the university, and also with the ANP, which is the Agency of Petroleum and the National Agency for Petroleum and Biofuels. And many other institutions which are out of USP, and also international partnerships with the Sustainable Gas Institute from the Imperial College of London and others. Can you change the next slide, please? So also here partnering with others, but with poets, and we just also signed with NSF and FAPESP financing this joint research. Next one, please. So here, you can go ahead. These are the main programs. So there are 5 programs, one in engineering, other one in chemistry, physical chemistry, another one in energy, policies and economics. These 3 programs have already delivered their projects. The CO2 abatement program that started later is still on, and the geophysics program also. So there are 5 programs. Next. 46 projects that were up to 2020, next, and more than 380 researchers. We had up to 500, but in different times. So 42 foreigners, next. So it's a multidisciplinary technical and scientific team of excellence. It's formed by engineers and various specialties in like physicists, chemists, lawyers, researchers in the field of energy, history, geography, transportation, logistics, economics, mathematics, psychology, and others. It addresses complex issues, interconnecting technical, economic, legal, environmental, and more recently, social aspects as well. Next, please. Well, here is the research center. I hope you can come and visit us. So we have administrative support and also the human resources support, which I am responsible for, so that the researchers can focus and doing the best research. Next, please. We also have a series of more than 28 university labs that are here within the campus in São Paulo, but in São Carlos, and also in the Federal University in São Carlos, and many other partners, even in international sites like Imperial College, Oxford, Princeton, University of Tokyo, and others. Next, please. Well, this is a bit of our numbers. So we got to mainly about 500 people already being part, 57 international partnerships, 37 national partners, a lot of papers and books and chapters and labs involved, events and patents that were registered, 3 of them. And for 4, we had 4 awards received. One of the patents also was awarded by the Agency of Petroleum. Next, please. Here is a bit of our numbers. So we've got diversity in levels, in ages, in areas of Brazil, and even of international people. Next, please. Well, here's a bit of the contributions towards the UN Sustainable Development Goals, mainly on assuring access to affordable and renewable and reliable sustainable energy and taking the urgent actions to combat climate change. And also with support in industry, innovation and infrastructure. Next, please. And we also have other contributions indirectly or not so strong, also in many other sustainable development goals. Next, please. And partnering with many parts of the world. That's a highlight. Next one, please. That would be a highlight of the center. Now, I would invite our 4 leaders for them to share their point of view of working in this triple helix. Starting first with Roberto Cesar. Please, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Karen. I hope everybody is listening to well. So, as I mentioned, I'm a coordinator at FAPESP. I'm responsible for the research centers. And I would like to speak a little bit, since probably we have a quite diversified set of people watching us today, about FAPESP very briefly, and then I'm going to speak how the research center program by FAPESP fits in the topic that we are discussing here in the panel. And I would say that it fits quite well, actually. So FAPESP is a public funding agency at the state of São Paulo. We fund the research in all topics, in all research areas. So from Kant to quantum physics, you name it, and as long there is research in between, so FAPESP can fund. We fund research in institutions in the state of São Paulo, so both private and public institutions. It may be universities, it may be research institutes, it may be companies, it may be research funded together with company. By the way, as Alexandre mentioned, Shell is one of our best partners in this kind of initiatives. So we have a quite good set of tools in order to fund research and to fund how this research can benefit society. And I think that probably this is the most important connection between what FAPESP does and the topic that we're discussing here in this panel today. So among the different initiatives that FAPESP funds, there are the research centers. The idea of the research centers that have been created more than 20 years ago, by the way, by FAPESP, is that FAPESP funds long-term research in some research institution in the state of São Paulo. We have both mechanisms in order to fully fund the center. This is what we call the CEPIDs. But then we have also partnership with companies where we co-fund and co-run the research centers. These are the engineering research centers. One of them is our CGI that Karen just mentioned, and I suppose Julio and Alexandre will talk a lot about it. So the idea behind, the idea that motivated FAPESP to fund these centers is, first of all, these research centers should develop a group of researchers and an infrastructure for research in order to do internationally competitive research in their domain. As I mentioned, FAPESP funds research in all domains of knowledge. We have research centers on humanities. We have research centers on health, on biology. We have research centers on engineering, on mathematics, so all domains of knowledge. But the important thing in this case is that, and this is actually the main idea, is that these research centers should develop internationally competitive research. This research center, this is our ambition, it will become an international level center that people around the world doing good research in their domain, they will remember this center once they're discussing who to invite to a conference, who to invite to a special issue, or whatever. So we're really talking about having some research groups in the state of São Paulo that will be internationally recognized as a very good research group. So this is the main drive, the main thing. But FAPESP does not stop there its ambition. It's important for the research center to do translation of the results of the research, which means to have impact in society. That's very important for us. We hope with that to engage society so that people in our communities, particularly people in the state of São Paulo that funds through their taxes FAPESP, which means they fund this research center, it's important to have them understanding the role of research, the role of science, the role of technology. So this is the second most important aspect in all these research centers. These centers are not supposed just to be one of the best research groups, but they must be one of the best research groups in their fields and also help to have impact from their research that could benefit society. And in fact, we have two main tools in order to do this translation between research results that can benefit society. The first tool is through innovation. So we have a different set of tools that allows the research center to bring the results of their research to society. Let me give two concrete examples that are very different, but you understand how this can benefit society. FAPESP can fund technology transfer. So suppose that the research center discovered some technology, and this technology has the potential to become a product or a process or whatever. Then we have many different tools in order to do the transference of technology from the center to society. For instance, we can fund a startup, we can fund patents, we can fund many different things that could allow the transference of the technology to the society to do whatever this technology can help. But also, FAPESP can fund, for instance, if the research center creates some knowledge that could be useful in order to create evidence-based policy, public policy. Suppose that the research center creates some knowledge and the government can explore that knowledge in order to create new policies that will benefit society. This is also very important for us. We're not talking about here transfer, technology transfer, because eventually this knowledge is not a technology, it's some useful knowledge that if the government uses well, this could be could have a good impact in society because it will be based on evidence. So this is the part that we call innovation, where the research center can innovate something that is happening in society, either a new product, a new company, or because the government will adopt some kind of policy or something like this using the knowledge produced by the research. So this is the first axis. And I'm going to conclude talking about the second axis, that what we call the dissemination. Dissemination is when you transfer the knowledge or knowledge around the results, but in other levels to society. For instance, for education. There are lots of things that these research centers, they can produce in order to benefit the education of kids, of children, of teenagers, etc. With that possibility, we hope to engage in order to find who will be the scientists of tomorrow. We're talking about finding these young people that have the potential in order to engage in a research career, and they are out there. So we have lots of, again, useful tools to fund, and we expect that the research center will engage also in this kind of possibility. If you start looking for our research centers, you are going to discover that these research centers, they're all the time in the news. For instance, they are in the TV channels, they are in the newspapers, they are producing good news regarding different things. If you look, for instance, now because of the pandemic, so the COVID, there are lots of news regarding the research funded by FAPESP in these research centers that can help society to better understand the pandemics, better understand what we can do in order to fight its bad implications to society, etc. If you're going to look, for instance, in the social media, like social networks, there is a strong presence of our research centers in all these things: Wikipedia, Facebook, Twitter, etc. So with this kind of idea, we hope that the presence of the research groups or research centers that FAPESP funds in this kind of different forums will help to make society to better understand the research and to better take decisions, again, for the benefit of society. So I hope that with this summary, you understand that FAPESP aims is quite aligned to the conference itself, but the panel, and it will be a pleasure to answer any additional questions or comments that people are there. I'm going to stop here, otherwise I could spend hours speaking about FAPESP, but I'm going to spare you from this experience. Karen, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Roberto. Thank you. Now I'll invite Alexandre Breda to make his comments. Please.
So, I think for my quick speech here today, for this triple helix event, I would like to talk a bit about three points. Yeah, I think regarding this relationship, private companies and university and government. Yeah. So first is a bit of history of our venture here, our CGI. Second, some challenges, and third, the opportunity. Okay. I think for the starting a bit of history, I'm involved with the RCGI since the beginning. Yeah, and we started partnering with FAPESP that Marcondes already presented. Yeah, and then the successful candidate for a call for proposal was USP, and Professor Julio was the leader, and we are here together since December 2015. Yeah, when we signed this agreement, and we are together in this journey, this fruitful journey. I think second point, challenges. Yeah, I think this people ask me lots of time about challenges. Yeah. For me, these are minor points, okay? The challenges are really small, and just an open and transparent communication is enough to solve all potential misalignment we may have. Yeah? So I think challenges are really tiny. Yeah, when we compare with the big opportunities. That's my third point. Yeah, I think this third point about the opportunities. Yeah, what we believe and we do open innovation for a long time. Yeah, I think in this time with this rapid change that we are facing, yeah, it's important to learn from others, yeah, to make the most out of our collective strengths, yeah, and find the best ways of doing business. Yeah, I think there's not a recipe. We are learning together from different and from bright-minded minds. Yeah. Here in Shell, we have 4 different tools for open innovation. One is the Shell Tech Works, is an initiative that we have in Boston, in the US. Okay. A second one is a Shell Game Changer, is working with startups on improving or early stage ideas, okay, with impact, with the potential to impact in the future of energy. Third initiative is this one that we have here in the RCGI. We call the Shell Research Alliance, okay? Is really bringing together the brightest minds. We are a real global network of research partners. Okay? And we have a similar goal. We want to develop the technology for the near, for the medium, for the long-term energy future. Yeah, this is what we call the Shell Research Alliance. And the fourth tool that we have is the Shell Venture, that's making some minority investment in companies, really inventory capital. Okay, so these are the 4 initiatives that we have in open innovation. Yeah. I think what we bring from the industry to this partnership, we bring real challenges, the pain that we are facing today. Okay? So we bring not only the financial resources, but we also bring experts from the field. Yeah, we bring experts that are really facing real challenges, that they are feeling the pain on their skin today. Okay, so this is, I think, is the main contribution that we bring to this partnership. Yeah, I think the best collaborations bring together good people, good ideas, create an environment of trust. Yeah, where we work together to tackle specific challenges that are relevant to the business today and tomorrow. Yeah, I think by making these longer term commitments that we make is important for the teams to build effective working relationship. Yeah, I think to take on strategic challenges and can apply a multidisciplinary approach. And this is what we are trying to achieve and to develop it together with the professors and our colleagues here. Yeah, I think these are my short comments now. So said that, I think this is my contribution, and as Marcondes just pointed out, we are looking forward to some interaction later today. Yeah, so thanks again, Karen. I give it back to you, and happy to answer some questions at the end of the session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexandre. Very, very good, very brief, and very precise in bringing this, both of you, Roberto and Alexandre. Now I invite Professor Giulio to make his remarks.
I hope that you can see my screen. Can you see?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
But we can see it as, it's not in presentation mode. Now it is.
Mine Great. Is working, that's fine.
Oh, good, fantastic.
That's very good. Then my idea here is to try to give a general view, and Marcondes just said that, well, I'm talking about FAPESP. I have to say that probably I will say more about FAPESP and how important FAPESP has been for us in University of São Paulo and other universities and research centers in the state of São Paulo. And then what I'm going to try to show is everything that we have been working here at Escola Polytechnic, University of São Paulo, related to those topics that I'm going to show a few slides, FAPESP is somehow involved. And then I'm going to talk about the experience that we have with thematic projects that FAPESP sponsored. These were in the year, it was 1994, when I just came back from my PhD at Imperial College in London. We started a thematic project in vortex-induced vibration. I'm going to show how it relates to Petrobras. Then I'm going to show some experience that we have with the Brazilian Silent Aircraft Initiative and how much that initiative had impact in the Brazilian economy, and is the same order of magnitude as the first topic, the VIV with Petrobras. And finally, the projects that we have been carried out with other oil companies and now with Shell, and always related to topics that had a huge impact in the Brazilian economy and in society in general. Starting with the thematic project, the idea was to develop tools and to test in labs the way that Petrobras could employ some tools, numerical tools validated through experiments that were carried out here at University of São Paulo and in the institute in IPT, the Technological Institute of São Paulo. And then what we developed in those two thematic projects that were sponsored by FAPESP, the equipment, scholarships, but we had also the sponsorship from Petrobras. And I have to say, at that time, I even had, well, I didn't have any idea regarding the triple helix model. But what we did was exactly the triple helix model. Without FAPESP, without Petrobras, the university would not gather around those researchers to try to develop those tools that make Petrobras be able to explore oil and gas in deep and ultra deep waters in the Brazilian offshore area. And without those projects that involved not only University of São Paulo, but University of Campinas, Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, among other universities, without those thematic projects, Petrobras wouldn't be able to design those lines that carries oil from the well to the platform. And if we consider the cost of those lines, of those risers, it's 1/3. It can go from 1/3 to half the total cost of our oil platform. Then we are talking about order of magnitude of $1 billion. And the impact in the Brazilian economy, the income from the production of oil and gas in those areas are in the order of tens of billions US. And the investment in research was in the order of magnitude of millions of US. Then you multiply by 10, 100, 1,000 times the investment and the return that you have for the society and in economical terms. Another project, this I like very much because we have some what's called color fluid mechanics, is CFD, computational fluid mechanics, that we did in our water channel. And that, well, we did the experiments in the water channel that was built with the sponsorship from FAPESP, and the simulations were evaluated with those experiments that you can see on the right. This is one of the first supercomputers in the University of São Paulo, completely dedicated for this kind of study. It was, again, sponsored by FAPESP in one of the thematic projects. And this is now moving from Petrobras to Embraer. This is another project that involved University of São Paulo, University of Santa Catarina, the Federal University of Santa Catarina, the National University of Brasilia, Federal University of Uberlândia, the Aeronautic Institute, that the idea was to understand the physics behind the generation of noise that you have in an airplane during landing and in taking off, and then to develop design tools in order to design the better airplanes in terms of noise generation. And then that was again sponsored by FAPESP and Embraer. That was not through a thematic project, but a PT project that is prior to the engineering research centers. We had the PT projects. We still have PT projects, but at that time was in the beginning of this kind of real triple helix model research collaboration. And with this project, we were able to measure in the field, not only to do simulations in our supercomputer, but to measure the noise generated by the aircraft during landing in the airfield that Embraer is the owner in Gavião Peixoto, and all the instrumentation that you can see here, 256 microphones that were employed to measure the sound and to be able to say which sound pressure level from each part of the airplane you had in order to validate the tools. And this, I'm entering in that project the importance of diffusion of knowledge in scientific terms, to publish the results in very well-known journals. We had a huge impact in terms of citations, and also I used to just to make a joke. This is one of the publications that had most impact, is the publication that in Veja magazine, people came to us in December 2012 to write a report, to write an article regarding innovation. And they come to us to see the one of the first prototype machine, a 3D printer, that were employed to, here you can see the landing gear that has been tested in our water channel, in that silent aircraft initiative. Here you can see the scaled model of a manifold that was installed in deep waters in Campos Basin in a project sponsored by Petrobras. And this article was published in Veja magazine. And then a lot of people came to us to use those 3D printers. Now we have even new generation of 3D printers that we use for our experiments. And on the right, some of the patents that we had. And regarding the silent aircraft initiative, that was one of the how can I say, that made Embraer able to design one of the best airplanes in terms of noise generation in the market. This is the the E190 Series 2 that has been launched 3 years ago, and it was a success. And again, I can give you the order of magnitude of the investment was in the order of 10 million US dollars. And the impact of the economy you can measure in terms of tens of billions of US dollars in the Brazilian commercial balance of payments, in terms of all exports that Embraer does. And it was so successful, this project, that, well, Embraer was almost bought by Boeing last year. And then there are only 2 slides regarding RCGI. RCGI is the triple helix model, and as Marcondes and Alexandre just said, is an example of an evolution of collaboration between a company and FAPESP as the funding research agency, not as a PT project that can last up to 4 or 5 years. The center is an evolution of that model that the investment can last up to 10 years. That is very good for research. And then the founding sponsors are FAPESP and USP. Here is what Karen has already shown. Our headquarters are not our labs, is where we meet to have the technical meetings, the scientific meetings, and so on, for people to gather and then to meet each other, to have the meetings and so on. And these are all the partner institutions that we have now, not only Shell and FAPESP as sponsors, but Repsol and Neva and some other companies, and all the colleges in University of São Paulo, the numbers that Karen has already shown, the diffusion of knowledge through workshops, international workshops that Gustavo has organized in the past years, and highlights of projects. One project that can cause up to 50 to 60% reduction of emission of CO2 and methane, if you consider compressors, and that's a huge gain that you would have if you are able to do that. Gas separation, that we have some breakthroughs, and also some new concepts of huge caverns that won the ANP prize in 2019. And these are our main contributions. I just mentioned 3, but there are many others, and the structure and the importance of governance in our center. This was from the beginning that we had that governance and organizational chart, and with all the responsibilities of each partner and the groups. This was set even before the starting of the center. This is what I'd like to present, and thank you very much, Karen, and well, back to you, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Julio. Wonderful, thank you. Now I invite Professor Gustavo Assi to make his presentation too.
Right. Thank you, Karen. Can you hear me and see my screen?
Yes, perfectly.
Good. Thank you again. Thank you for the invitation. It's good to be the last one. I do not to explain what the RCGR is, or what how FAPESP works to fund it, how Shell is keen to sponsor the center. It's a very comfortable position. So I can bring on my own one single perspective on 2 very important challenges that I have seen and actually experienced from the inside. So this is more a view and an opinion from someone who is on the front line trying to manage people and assets and ideas in these past 5 years in our center. Of course, this is related to triple helix, and I would like to show you why. Now, we all know that the triple helix model as a theory, the theorization of the triple helix model is very interesting as a topic in itself. And we understand, and I'm pretty sure we're all convinced that within the triple helix model, we are much stronger. So the chances of success are much, much better, just by bringing 3 strong forces together, making them even more, even stronger and more ready for the fruits in the future as an innovation model. So I do not need to justify that, but I would like to highlight some things that are happening on the interface of the triple helix model as we project our RCGI center, or perhaps other centers, onto this framework, this model. Now, through the triple helix model, we have access to more than just 3 components. And we have access to many companies through the network that Shell operates, their own partnerships, the other companies and interests that Shell brings on board when they say out publicly that they are sponsoring research within a center. We also have access to many other governmental bodies, state of São Paulo, and also federal bodies that are regulating this enterprise, but also some other agencies that are also behind and brought together by FAPESP and ANP, specifically in our case, which is the regulator for oil and gas and biofuels in Brazil. And of course, Shell, the other companies, they benefit from the academic links that the university itself is the only responsible for building. So it's very hard for Shell to relate and contact as many universities as possible in Brazil, but it's quite straightforward to create one center and then interact through this center with many labs of high expertise in the country, and especially in the state of São Paulo. So there are more people than just 3 components to this. And the plan and the idea of this model, I believe, is to fructify in the future, making this sustainable and accessing spin-offs of centers like this by the relationship established in the center. So the triple helix has a very powerful mission, I guess, and potential in that direction. But now, one important aspect of our center is the regulation by the federal ANP. And every single penny that Shell spends in research and development in the country must receive a thumbs up from ANP, must get ANP's approval. It has to be money qualified for that in the country. So you have a regulator, not just a funding agency from the government, but also regulator. The eyes of the sector are on top of the center as well. And this is crucial for the existence of the center. And this is fundamental to motivate Shell to invest a considerable amount of their money into research at that level. But now there are some aspects, and I would like to highlight only two of them, that are developing on the border of these three relationships that I highlighted here. So the first one is related to the ecosystem for the innovation and transfer of technology. Of course, the model that Marcondes so presented so well of the CPD, or the C from Center, P for research, I'm trying to think in English and Portuguese here, D for diffusion of knowledge, and I for innovation, is in the DNA of our center. It exists to do that, and it operates on those three vectors. But when it comes to the practical daily operation of the center, to implement and to create an innovation and technology transfer ecosystem is quite tricky. It's very hard. Of course, you have access for funding, you have access to partnerships that will develop later in the future. But when it comes to the daily motivation of PhD students, of postdocs, and the genesis of the spin-offs and startups, for them to see and to be wanting, to step out and to create businesses and products, it's quite tricky. So we see at the moment, we're trying to figure out a fruitful way to develop this innovation and technology transfer ecosystem within this triple helix model, knowing that perhaps it will be a concentrated effort of the university, because that's where people are, with a push from the industry, that's where the partnerships are, with another push from the government, especially for FAPESP, on funding startups. But the locus where this ecosystem happens is within the university environment. So the entrepreneurial university model is quite important to be developed here, since it hosts the innovation and technology transfer models, because it deals with the people, with the individuals who eventually make the step out of the box. And one thing we have to do is to develop partnerships, do training, show them access for funding and so on, and to convince them from the beginning that transfer of technology and innovation is more than just a patent. It's not just filing a patent and your job's done. It's a bit more than that. It's to make that to fructify. Now, my second aspect is related to that one. That's my role at the moment, but my previous role was directing diffusion of knowledge and communications in our center. And this is another important aspect as well, because it does not only deal with the three components, but here it tackles the outer component of civil society. And those who are working on triple helix models may see this as the quadruple helix model, with civil society surrounding the relationships we already have established in the triple helix. I don't want to criticize or to talk about the theory of triple or quadruple helix models just now. This is not my topic. My emphasis lies on the actions we have to do to properly send out knowledge or communicate knowledge to society. It's not just an internal communication between the three parts that only see numbers and actions, but it's an outer communication. Now, you have to target the right public, you have to find the right media, you have to decide on the content and the depth of the communication, and you have to create proper metrics, meaning that this requires proper communication or professional communication tools. And this costs something. It's not something to be done by a PhD student in their spare time. It's something that requires professional the professional abilities and requires a budget and professional actions. Now, again, making a parallel to the innovation model, diffusion of knowledge in this context is more than just publishing a paper. It's more than just sending something to a journal. It tackles education, public policy, industries, future and enterprises, the next generation, and in our case specifically, how do you communicate sustainability to the society in the 21st century? So this all requires more than just scientific publications. So my final comment here is we have to look at those two perspectives, diffusion of knowledge and technology transfer, not just sideline initiatives of the center. They are core initiatives that they need to exist for the center to function. Now, if they need to exist, they have to be considered from the beginning as a strategy for the center to work. And you have to invest money on that. You have to have a budget and you require professional people. You require these areas to be treated more or less like the research project itself. So you are funding a portfolio of research projects within a center. You might as well officially fund initiatives for communication, diffusion of knowledge, innovation, and transfer of technology. The problem is this kind of funding is not recognized by the government, by the regulators at the moment. Sometimes it's a difficult money to be assessed by FAPESP and all the other side, the three parts as well. So most of the time, we have had difficulties to implement this kind of double-sided strategy, knowing that they are core for the center to work, but still trying to find a way to put them into the DNA of the budget, the spreadsheet, and the design of the center. Now, my dream here and my plan is to find a way, a recipe, and perhaps a working plan to have diffusion of knowledge, innovation and transfer of technology as well established as the research is in our centers. At the same time that you send a proposal for projects, for 46 projects in our case at the moment, you might as well just have 1 or 2 projects with people, funding, metrics, deliverables for those 2 aspects as well. So these are the 2 challenges I would like to see properly addressed in the DNA of our centers and also well cared for in the Triple Helix partnership. Karen, I send it back to you. Thank you for your time. And if you have questions, I'm happy to take them.
Thank you very much, Gustavo. I think it was a very interesting overview of each of you. I know how challenging it was because it talk about so many things in so a short time. But thank you very much for talking about the role of each of these parts, the benefits and challenges that also are involved in this aspect. I received here a news that we've got very few minutes that we can still spare here. So I will ask each of you to make your final comments after you've heard all your colleagues. If there's anything else you would like to say or ask or comment, please, this is time for us to do before our closing. So I'll ask, please, Roberto, for you to start. What would be your final comments?
Okay, thanks a lot. It's very nice to see different complementary aspects of the topic. And I would like to emphasize something, that there's lots of things that are spoken among our colleagues at university, but also in society, etc. Things like, there is no connection between companies and universities in Brazil. There is no collaboration. The companies in Brazil, they do not innovate. They do not invent useful things. I hope that the panel today shows that this is not true. This can be true elsewhere. Here in the state of São Paulo, this is not true. There's lots of good things going on funded by FAPESP, funded by companies. We're quite proud of the kind of partnerships that we have that allows creating very successful centers like this one led by Professor Julio, RCGI. We're quite proud about the confidence and I would say the friendship that we have with companies like Shell, and particularly Alexandre Breda, that has been working with us for many years now. So I really hope that this panel helps to show that actually there are lots of good things, interesting things going on in this partnership between companies, universities, funding agencies, and everything for the benefit of society. I think this panel quite shown this in a very concrete way. Thanks a lot, Karen, and everybody for the organization of this wonderful panel.
Thank you very much for your comments, Roberto. Well, we just received a question here that popped up. I have many questions, but I can't do them. So I'm going to ask this question coming from Thiago Lopes. And then please, you can introduce that also in your comments. And if Roberto, you feel that you need to complement anything, just let me know. He asks us, how challenging is it to create an environment that fosters innovation and that fosters startups? If you want to mention that also in your comments. I ask now Alexandre Breda if you can make your final comments, and if you want to include something of this answer, please go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Karen. I think before trying to address this topic, Thiago, if I may, I think the challenges that we are trying to address here in our CGI, like climate change, are so big topics to stay enclosed in one single company. So I think this partnership with government, with academia, industry, other industries, because we didn't mention here, but our CGI has attracted also other companies investing in us as well. It's not only Shell. So the challenge is too big. It's impossible for one single bite. And I think this is the only way. It's not the best way. It's the only way. There is no other way to move forward. This triple helix, this type of partnership, and having the right partners is utmost. And I think having FAPESP, Shell, USP, I think we have developed a great collaboration and a great friendship. I think we are more than colleagues now. We are friends. After this, and we are tackling these big challenges, and we will succeed. Answering, just I will touch briefly on the question, Gustavo. This is, you mentioned about this. Perhaps you can elaborate more on that. But I don't think that there is not a recipe. For this. So innovation is. Sometimes it happens when we are taking a shower. It's not. Sometimes happen when you are in the lab, and so it's not that easy. And sometimes you have a great project, a great initiative, but the time is not correct. The timing is not correct. For example, if I think I saw, I don't know if it's fake news or if it's not, but sometimes I receive in my WhatsApp some information from a car from Gurgel. It was an electrical Gurgel car. You that is fan of Gurgel as well, Gustavo. But it was issued, I think, in the 80s. So the timing was not proper for that. So it happens as well in timing. So I think we as the partners here in this venture, in this initiative, we need to identify, and this is the main topic that we are trying to address in now the new phase of our CGI, and how to really support the postdocs, the PhDs, because they will spin off. They will set up this startup. So for us, we need to coach them, we need to mentor them, we need to make sure that the hurdles will be overcome. And I think this is what we need to do, but it's not a recipe. It's more in a coaching manner, in a mentorship manner, and this is what we'll try to address, and we will succeed on this as well. Thanks again, Karen, for this facilitation and for the invitation. Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Alexandre. I love when you all speak and you talk about the relationship and the trust and building this as becoming friends, which I think is very productive. That's very supportive for innovation. Well, thank you very much. Professor Júlio, could you make your final comments, please?
Yeah, well, the point that Alexandre mentioned, that answers the question that it appears. I believe that it's always a matter of coaching. Well, he also said mentorship and to lose that fear of trying to how can I say, to walk on some way that's is not the common way. This is, I think that's important to transmit for those who are thinking, those who finish their PhDs and those who are doing a postdoc and wants to spin off and trying to set their own small companies or spin-off companies. And this is, I think that if you consider coaching plus, the process of coaching, I believe that part of it is to try to remove that fear that the young people has to try to go and to walk in a path that's not the common way. And I believe that's the main question. And to have sponsorship in this triple helix model, I believe that's one of the best ways of having long-term investment in research and then to really make some difference to the society. And this is a long-term investment. And
Great.
Thank you very much, Karen. I think that's...
Thank you very much, Professor Júlio. Gustavo, your 2 minutes to close.
Sure.
Thank you.
I will just compliment on Alexandre and Júlio. I agree that the innovation model or process that we adopt should not follow a strict recipe. It's a matter of trial, error, adaptation, and a lot of personal relationships and mentoring is involved. So in this, I mean, it's the process of creating a culture of innovation and transfer of technology. And this takes more than 5 years. This takes a whole generation. It's how do you change the mind of the future engineering student that goes into the university knowing that to try a startup or to try to innovate with its final year project is a possibility. And if he or she wants to do that, he or she will find the means and the tools to develop that. So if in the RCGI we're looking for a model and an ecosystem, perhaps the RCGI will be an example of innovation and transfer of technology to be inspired, to inspire others, but not to teach others or to give out recipes on how to do that, in the same way that we cannot just simply grab a recipe and try to make it work in our field. For example, energy, climate change, energy transition in the Brazilian context is very specific and requires specific analysis as well. So I thank you, Karen, for this invitation. I take the chance to congratulate Marcondes on behalf of FAPESP for setting up such an important network of research centers. The initiative has changed the way we do research in our state forever. I congratulate Shell, talking to Alexandre now specifically, on believing and trusting that the center could develop. And I also congratulate Júlio Meneghini for running the center so beautifully in a very productive way. It's been inspiring us all. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Well, I share the same words as Gustavo just said, so I'm not going to repeat them all, but I really appreciate all of you with accepting this invitation and bringing this to reality, really bringing your perspective of working in a triple helix. Thank you very much, and I hope that it's fruitful for everybody that also was able to participate. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye to you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.